Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Temple Buddhist Center's weekly Sunday meditation service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We hope that today's meditation service finds each and every one of you happy and healthy, but please know that if you are struggling in any way, we hope that Temple Buddhist Center can be a source of refuge, strength, and support as we hold both you and your loved ones in our hearts. Let's begin our service this morning with some conscious breath work. A conscious breath is where you breathe deeply through the nose, you hold that breath for just a moment or two, and then you release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for a moment, feeling the fullness of the lungs, and releasing slowly. And as you release, noticing the body relaxing just a little more, every out-breath finds a new layer of relaxation and ease. And a second conscious breath together, holding for a moment, and releasing. And as you release, giving yourself full and complete permission to unplug from that energy of going and doing, efforting, striving, perhaps getting ready in the morning and making the trip down to temple. And as we release that connection to that energy, we take time to cultivate as a sangha, as a spiritual community, to cultivate that energy of just being. That energy that requires nothing of us and is a constant source of essence, life force. And a third conscious breath together. And releasing. And as we release, we allow into our awareness the present moment. The present moment might seem like a small increment of time, but it has no beginning and no end, and we are always arriving in the here and the now. So here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our services with just a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer. It is about having a voice. It is about a deeply devotional expression from what is sacred within you and sharing that with the world, as well as an opportunity to combine not only our energy together as Sangha, but also our voices. Our chant today is Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. And in the Sanskrit tradition, this chant honors the energy of the enlightened mind, that vast, boundless, endless energy that is capable of accepting all beings in all places for exactly who and what they are. And so you might even recognize Om. In Sanskrit, Om is the seed sound, reminding us that each one of us is a beautiful note in a grand cosmic symphony that is forever playing. So let's take a moment to once again take a conscious breath. And let's begin. Om Vajrapani Hum. 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 With a smile. Om Vajrapani Hum. Om Vajrapani Hum. Once more. Om Vajrapani Hum. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic. It's growing and changing as we ourselves learn much more through science about this human condition. It is inclusive. It is active. And it focuses on core Buddhist insights as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily lives. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect of Buddhism, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, spending time in noble silence, or sharing from the heart, we recognize and understand that you will participate at a level that feels comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh new perspective to each and every encounter. The second jewel of the Buddhist practice is the Dharma, the truth teachings that release us from fear, delusion, and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And finally, the third is our Sangha, our spiritual community, an essential part of growth where we practice the teachings together and support each other along every step of the path. And so let's take a moment now to silence any cell phones or electronic devices as we prepare for a time in meditation and contemplation. We're going to begin with the prayer of refuge, which we will recite 3 times for the 3 jewels. Taking a conscious breath. Together, in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so as we enter a time of meditation, holding not only our Sangha and our community here in this room, in our hearts and in consciousness, but also our Sangha that is joining us all around the world through the live streaming and the magic of electronics and media. So we welcome everyone at home joining us in the PJ Sangha. Also, don't forget that there are tissues, there are throat lozenges, there's also a listening device. All of these items are at the altar at the back of the meditation hall. There are also still a few cushions left up front for anyone that would like to sit cross-legged up front on a cushion. If you have an extensive practice as we move into meditation, then I invite you to practice in a way that's fitting for you. If, however, you are new to meditation, we're going to begin first with a dedication of intention. We will sound the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels. And then our teacher today, Mr. Robert Brumet, will lead us in a brief guided meditation that's designed to assist you in moving into the stillness. We will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes this morning in noble silence, connecting with each other and the world in consciousness. Afterwards, Robert will lovingly bring us out of meditation. We will sound the return bell, and then it will be time for today's Dharma talk, or teaching. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
We listen to the sound of the bell, receding into the silence, following it all the way. Into the nothingness from which it came. Bringing awareness to the breath now, we pay attention to each breath arising from the nothingness and returning to that nothingness. We empty the mind, we empty the heart, we let go of all conscious striving, putting aside our agenda, at least temporarily, if not permanently. And we just sit in the openness of being. There's nothing to do. There's no one to go. No place to be but right here. We find that here, now, is all that we need. So we feel our beingness in the emptiness. We hear sound rise and fall. We perceive thoughts coming and going. We feel sensations in the body, rising, falling, always changing. We find that what we most want is right here in the silence, in the emptiness. And so we rest. We rest in the silence. At this time, I invite you to become aware of hearing. And to become aware of the sensations in your body. Feel the body sitting in the chair or on the cushion. In a moment, you will hear the sound of the bell. And in that time, I invite you to open your eyes very slowly and bring in the experience of seeing. We continue the practice with the eyes open. The practice is open-ended. It just shifts in its form and its focus, but the intention, staying awake to each present moment experience, continues, ideally throughout the day, throughout our life. And now here is the sound of the bell. Okay. Thank you, Victor. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Jordan, for your beautiful music. Happy December. It's hard to believe we're looking at 2023. But no matter what numbers we attach to it, it's always the present moment, isn't it? So our topic today is authenticity. Authenticity, typically means being yourself, being honest, genuine, transparent, et cetera, not being deceptive, but fully being honest and yourself. But then the question is, if I'm myself, who's that? Who is this self that's trying to be or being authentic? Because the self is always changing. We pay attention to it. We see it's never the same from one day to the next, from 1 hour to the next, 1 minute to the next, actually. There's a limerick I remember hearing some time ago, if I can recall it. It goes something like this. Within this temple, there's a crowd. There's one of us who's humble. There's one who's proud. One who is sorry for his sins. Another, unrepentant, sits and grins. From how much care I would be if I only knew which one is me. Who's in there? Just a little bit of self-awareness points us to a whole menagerie of beings rising and falling, changing from condition to condition. So, if I'm going to be myself, which self am I going to be? So today we're going to unpack this idea of authenticity and exactly what it means or what it can mean, and how, more importantly, that we practice it rather than understand it or define it. Why do we want to be authentic? Well, we want to live in the world that's real. And the only world that's real is the authentic world. Those words are almost synonymous. If I'm not being myself, then I'm not living in the real world. So I want to begin by telling you about experiences I had when I was a kid, way back in the last millennium. Sounds like it was 1,000 years ago. It seems like it was. But back in those days, in the middle 40s and the early 50s, we ate most of our vegetables out of cans, as most people did. And I never liked green beans at all. They tasted mushy. They just taste. There was no taste to them at all. And then one summer, some neighbors gave us some fresh green beans out of the garden. Woo, what a difference. They didn't taste like the same vegetable, you know. It's like, wow, I like green beans after all, but not these green beans. I like the real green beans, you see. So that really, not at the time, but in retrospect, is a great metaphor I learned that we can live our life basically in one of two ways. We can live it fresh, like nature created it, or we can live it out of a can. And that's the way most of us have been taught how to live it, conditioned how to live it. You know, why do we put green beans in a can? Expediency, economics. But we sacrifice a lot when we do that, you see. And so it is when we live in a world of canned experiences. And those canned experiences are canned in concepts. Thoughts. A concept is about something, it's not the thing itself. It's the label. It's not the taste, it's not the vegetable. It's not the life itself. Speaking of cans, I just read an interesting fact the other day. The tin can was invented in 1810, but the inventor never made any money off of it. Do you know why? Because it took another 50 years for the can opener to be invented. And so then the tin can became a product that people could use. And so often it's the same with ourselves, you see. We have lots of canned ideas, and it takes a long time to open them, and by the time they're opened, those green beans, after 50 years, are probably not so tasty, right? So how can we live in a world of reality and be truly authentic? Well, just pay attention to how quickly we can our life in concepts. You know, psychologists tell us, there's been studies, a number of studies, that when we meet someone, How long do you think it takes before we have formed an opinion of that person? 4 hours? 4 minutes? 4 seconds? Yeah. So within 4 seconds, we have this person in a can, and that's who we relate to. And I was raised in a family where we knew each other simply by the cans, the labels. I don't believe that my parents or my siblings really began to know who I was, nor did I know who they were, because we were locked up in these concepts of who you are, how you are, your label. You're good, you're bad, you're right, you're unintelligent, you're strong, you're weak, whatever, see. So before long, we're living in a marketplace of cans rather than in our life itself, the reality of our life, you see. I was involved in Gestalt therapy for a number of years, and I've always been interested in Fritz Perls, the developer of Gestalt. And I was involved in Gestalt before I got involved in Buddhism, and I find that the two of them really intersect quite nicely. I found out that Fritz Perls actually practiced Zen a little bit before he developed his theories of Gestalt. But one of the things that he talked about, he labeled things that we talk about as about-isms. An about-ism is like a canned experience. We talk about our trip, we talk about another person, we talk about the football game, we talk about this, we talk about that. But basically what we're doing is we're just trading cans, you see. And when we open the can, it's okay, but it doesn't taste quite so good. There's a flatness to the canned experience, you see. We know it when we're sharing it, when we're telling a story. We're either telling it from fresh green beans or from canned green beans, you see. When someone is telling us something, we know whether or not it's canned or it's not. We become so used to the canned relationships, the canned sharing with one another and living in the can, that's becomes the normal, you see. So Perls called that about-isms. He wanted nothing to do with it, whatever, you see. So if you came to Fritz Perls and you wanted to tell him about a dream that you had last night, you know what he would say? Live that dream right now and talk to me from there. Go into that dream. I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear from it. Or if you would talk about a childhood experience you had, a trauma or whatever, he would say, I don't want to hear about it, but I want you to go there and I want you to talk from that place. And I think you've had the experience, I certainly have, from both sides, from the listener and the speaker. There's a world of difference when we talk from a place than from about the place. And so much of our conversation and our relationship with one another is about-ism. We point to this, we point to that, we point to that, but we don't point to the heart. We don't point to the reality of who we are. Perls would often say, change can only come in the present moment. It can only come if you're living in the present moment. He said, I can't do any therapy in the past. I can't do anything when you're talking about something, only when you're talking as it. There's a number of really powerful experiences that arise from living freshly, outside the can, so to speak. We hear about living outside the box. It's living outside the can. And I attended a couple of times. I attended a 5-day retreat hosted by Gregory Kramer, who teaches something called Insight Dialogue. And basically the practice in that retreat, in addition to Vipassana that we've been practicing, is to speak to one another mindfully and only from your present moment experience. So we would sit facing one another and we would simply talk about what we're experiencing. Or we would sit in the silence if we weren't aware of any experience we were having. So we would share with one another simple experiences about my nose itches. I've got a twitch in my eye. I'm thinking about this. I'm feeling that. Very simple. Nothing terribly exciting. And yet at the end of that 5-day period, I found that I was at total one-ment with everyone in that retreat. And people I've talked to afterwards said exactly the same thing. On the final night of the retreat, there were about 30 of us, and we sat together, and the teacher said, you know, talk about whatever you want to talk about. Nobody wanted to talk. We just wanted to sit. Just wanted to sit and be with one another. And we forget how much joy it is to simply be with someone. But it's a little too vulnerable for some of us, most of us. So we start putting those beans in the can. They're a little too fresh. And I became aware out of that experience that we really are one. And that which separates us is a very thin veneer, thinner than a tin can. But it's powerful in the way that it separates us, you see. So the idea of oneness, that we are one, when I hear that and when I say that, that's not just a theory. That's not just a foo-foo idea. I've experienced that more than once, and perhaps you have too, where there's no difference. And yet, you know, when we end the retreat, we know that we're separate human beings. We go off, do our own thing. We have different names. We have boundaries that we set as appropriate. But we find that it's easy to lose touch. And it's easy to get in touch if we're willing to risk, if we're willing to be vulnerable, if we're willing to get out of the can, you see. So living authentically is living in that moment of freshness, that moment of pure awareness, pure feeling. That's one of the keys, is to be in touch with the body and speak from that experience in the body. The authenticity isn't for someone else. It's for us. You know, somebody says, well, I'll try to be authentic. No, if you're trying to be authentic, you're not authentic. If you're trying anything, you're not being authentic. If you're being, then we're authentic. And it isn't about this is something we should do, or that we want to do, or that people will like you more if you're authentic. But the joy, the reward for living this way is far, far greater than the difference between fresh beans and canned beans. It has its own reward. And the price that we pay is to be willing to be vulnerable and to not know who we are. Because when we're authentic, we could be whoever we are in the moment, like a child. Who knows what we're going to say? I might say something stupid. People might laugh at me. So I put myself in a can. Safer than I'll give you this can rather than give you who I am. But we pay a huge price for that, you see. And I found that after tasting the green beans fresh, after tasting the authenticity of being alive fully in the moment, you don't want to go back to the way of living in the canned in the script. So I encourage you to try it, to experiment with it. And again, it's not about trying to get somewhere, but it's simply about looking at how I get in the way of being who I truly am. And that's really what authenticity is simply being who you are without putting anything in the way of that. So let's sit for a moment and just take all of this into the body, the mind, the heart. And I want to thank you sincerely for the privilege of your time and your practice and being able to share the Dharma here with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. So just taking a moment to embody the teachings, breathing in, allowing the mind to rest, and we just feel the teachings in our hearts instead of analyzing, figuring out, understanding, remembering. And so as we transition now into a heart practice, it's not uncommon to maybe stretch or wiggle, perhaps adjust your posture. And a heart practice is, and we've been experimenting with different kinds this month, and so we're settling into various kinds. This heart practice today is going to be our traditional metta practice. Last week we did a Tong Len practice, and we'll probably do a gratitude practice next Sunday. So for today, a metta practice. And it is not uncommon for, as we move into this metta practice, for there to be an external or an outward gesture. Some people like to create the Anjali Mudra, which is a focusing of the heart energy. Some folks may want to place their hand on their heart. Or it's also certainly common or usual for folks to simply take both hands and face them palm up on their laps. And so as we take a conscious breath together, and release, I invite you now to bring into your mind's eye an image, the image of you. A full body image of the form that has been given your name and that has accrued the many experiences over the years. And holding this image in your mind's eye, recite silently to yourself these words of metta or loving kindness practice. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. And may I be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release this sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a friend of yours. Holding this image of your friend in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as together we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of an acquaintance, someone you have met recently, like a clerk or a cashier, perhaps a new member of the Sangha or a classmate. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a difficult person in your life, a challenging person. Could be a boss or a coworker, a neighbor, or a political figure. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. Releasing that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of the world, all the plants and the flowers and the trees, all the animals of the land, the sea, the sky, and all sentient beings, including ourselves. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta to us all. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be safe from inner and outer dangers. May we be well in body and mind. And may we be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And in the true spirit of dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services here are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge may find it here in this temple with these teachers and with these teachings. The dana boxes are located at the back of the meditation hall. And also, we take a moment of gratitude for all of our amazing and wonderful volunteers who work so hard each and every day to bring more opportunities for spiritual enrichment, for classes, for sangha, for connection. Also, we take a moment of gratitude for our ambassadors. Ambassadors are folks who have committed themselves to regular monthly electronic giving. It's not about the amount, it's just that the regular monthly giving helps us to set a budget here at Temple Buddhist Center. And thank you so much to Jordan for your beautiful music. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robert Brumet, for your amazing teachings, your knowledge of the Dharma, and everything you do for Temple Buddhist Center. Everything he does on a generosity basis. He never accepts any kind of a fee for the things that he does for us here at Temple Buddhist Center. And also, especially thank you to each and every one of you for sharing your heart and your presence and your practice with us here at Temple Buddhist Center. Whoops, lost my microphone. We are the better for having you all here with us. And so, as we take a moment now to prepare for the bodhicitta dedication, I'll put that on the board here in just a moment. Don't forget all of our folks up in the heavenly abodes. Oops, what's that? Oh. Hold on. Remind me tomorrow. And our bodhicitta dedication together. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. And with the palms of our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us, and all of our friends from around the world as well. Just a few quick announcements. We've got some things coming up here in the near future. For today, don't forget our lending library is right here and is open to anyone and everyone. If you have a book that's sitting dusty on your shelves at home regarding meditation, mindfulness, and Buddhism, please bring it up and share it. If you are new to the practice, or even if you are just interested in looking at some more information and stories and readings, please, by all means, come up and sample the lending library, and whatever you find, by all means, take it home and let that become a part of your practice. And right after our meditation time together, downstairs in Unity Hall is crumble cookies. Delicious crumble cookies brought by our very own Carrie, a member of Temple Buddhist Center who happens to work at Crumble Cookie Factory. And so she always brings us delicious cookies. There's tea, there's coffee. There's also a post-service discussion group which meets right down the hall to the left, which is a group of folks that comes together both virtually and in person to talk about how we apply the teachings to our life. It's kind of where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So a way to connect the teachings and apply them to our daily lives. And don't forget that Robert and I are hosting our New Year's retreat. This is a 4-day silent meditation retreat coming up December 29th through January 2nd. You can attend residential, which means you stay there with us at the retreat center. You can also be a commuter where you come in the morning and go home at night, or you can join virtually and be with us for those 4 days There's walking meditation, sitting meditation, Vipassana style. Also, there will be one-to-one opportunities to meet with Robert and I. There will be yoga, Tai Chi Cha, silent meals, vegetarian, of course. And so if you would like to join us, please go to the website, templebuddhistcenter.com, and register. Our theme is Awakening the Universe, the Dharma and Cosmology. So we hope you can join us for that. And as always, many wonderful programs and opportunities happening here at Temple Buddhist Center. Just real quick to point out that we have a full moon meditation coming up Friday, January 6th from 7 to 9. We will build a flower mandala. There will be dances of universal peace, and there will be chanting. It is an amazing evening of authenticity as we just share the joy in our hearts with each other and with the world. Also, I don't think I have it up there yet, but on January 22nd, we're doing a mala bead making workshop where you can make your very own mala bead. You have a choice of a number of different guru beads and different kinds of stones and beads that you could choose from. So that's coming up January 22nd. So put that in your calendars, and I'll have much more information on that. Registration for that will open this week. And I think, yes, that was everything. All right, I will leave that up. Thank you all so much. As you go into your day, I wish you peace, blessings, and green beans.
Fresh green beans.
Fresh green beans.